WJG Sports. We journal great.
Good morning, everybody. This is Kyle Jones here from WJG Sports. Here coming to talk to you, bring you some updates from football season so far. I know it's been a while since I've actually been able to drop one of these, with my day job as a teacher, as well as all of the things I do, creating videos and pictures and things like that, creating content-wise. It's been really hard to actually get a chance to just sit down and think, much less put together 30 or 40 minutes to talk about football. But I'm here today to bring you some scores. I'm going to bring you some action and get you kind of ready for next week as well. I'm looking at it now. We have we're now in 2 weeks we'll be in the midway point of the actual season. It's crazy that football season, it seems like it's just started and it's almost over. Sadly, of course, because who doesn't love some good football? But let's get right into the action now. Thank you guys for the support. The support has been great. My channel has been growing a lot. Thank you for all of the people who are members only. And then also, thank you to people who've just been subscribing newly. Right now I'm sitting at 2,216 subscribers. If I can get it up to 2,300 by the end of the month, I'll be able to meet my goal I set for myself. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button real quick for me. And make sure that you're just locking in with all the posts and keeping track with us. So now, let's actually get into the football side of things. All right. So before we left, there were plenty of undefeated teams. I believe it was week 2. Now we are looking at week 5 coming into it, and there are now 4 undefeated teams left. They are Cleveland Rams, who are now 4-0 after handing, I want to say, Corinth Holders a 44-0 loss, as well as your Green Central Rams. They are still undefeated, beating North Pitt 40-0 as well. Then you have CB Aycock 4-0 as well after handing a 10-7 loss this week. And then you have your Triple S Spartans, who handed South Johnston a 21-7 loss. So right now, all 4 of those teams are the ones who are still undefeated. And having seen all of them either on camera, either on video or in action, I have to say that the biggest thing they have is consistent quarterback play. You look at it, Jackson Bird, he's been absolutely fabulous. He's one of the state leaders right now in a lot of passing situations. a lot of passing stats. Then you look at Wilkes Thomas. He's done a great job being very efficient for Green Central. Ethan Brock, even though he threw 4 interceptions on Friday against Hunt, which some of those I think were kind of more arm punts than anything, but he's been outstanding as well. He's been very consistent, has hit a lot of big plays as well. He's been very explosive and gotten Aycock down the field very quickly a lot. Then you look at Smithville Selma, John Ross Renfro has done a great job being efficient as well. So I think when you look at all 4 of those teams, that's the thing that they have in common, because their defenses are all very different. I think Green Central and Triple S are very big up front, and they rely a lot on their size, as well as those quick linebackers that they have to come up and make tackles. Well, I think Cleveland, you look at it, they play a lot of smaller guys in a lot of positions, but they're very fast to the ball. They don't give up a lot of touchdowns. They are a bend but don't break type of defense. And then you look at Aycock, I think they rely a lot on their speed as well, but they do have some size up front. I think they're very physical throughout. Their linebackers are really the ones who really push the needle for their defense. So I think they all had some very good defensive moments. I mean, you look at it, like I said, Aycock's only allowed 7 points on Friday. Green Central allowed 0. Cleveland allowed 0. Triple S only allowed 7. And as we get deeper into the season, that's really going to make a really huge difference is can you get stops in big moments? And all 4 of those teams have proven so. And I think just also, too, you look at it, man, all of those teams have some great playmakers on the outside as well. You look at Cam Prince and DJ Prince have both been great for ACOG. You've had Montez Anderson and Isaiah Dawson for Triple S. You have Jay-Sean Middleton, Cam Goins, and plenty of others for Cleveland. And for Green Central, you have John Willis and Jamari Coppage, who have made some absolutely huge plays. So I think all of those teams right now, man, they're riding high. They're getting a lot of good play from a lot of the good places. And I think their coaches are doing the perfect thing and putting their best players in positions to succeed and get the ball out and get them down the end zone. Now, I want to shift a little bit now to actually talking about where we sit for conference standings. So currently right now, Cleveland, of course, is on top of their conference as they're the only team with a undefeated record. And they are, hold on, excuse me, let me find these standings real quick just to make sure. There are 4 undefeated teams, as we know, in conference play so far. You have Cleveland, Southeast Raleigh, Fuquay-Varina, South Garner, all getting wins. Clayton, of course, dropped one on Friday night to Fuquay-Varina. Corinth, like I said, lost to Cleveland. Garner, for the first time ever, lost to South Garner. And Willow Spring lost to Southeast Raleigh. So, right now, Cleveland will have South Garner next week. Winner will be atop the conference currently. So I think when I'm looking at this, I mean, Cleveland are 4-0. South Garner just got their first loss of South Garner got their first win against Garner since their school opened a few years ago. So now, I mean, you're looking at it, they're 4-0. If they beat South Garner, it's most likely that they're going to run the table in this conference. I mean, you look at it, Cleveland right now, according to Max Preps rankings, before this game, they were actually number 19 in the state. And I think that's a pretty good spot for them, just based on the way they've played. I think in the 4A East, if you looked at it, you know, you would probably say that they're maybe a little bit higher. In the 4A East, they are. In the 4A total, they're 14th. And then you look at Raleigh, they are 4th. So I look at it and I say, man, you know, this could be an even better chance to possibly win a state championship, just because you look at it, really there's not a lot of powerhouses like I think they've been in the past few years. I think Cardinal Gibbs is still pretty good. Heritage is still pretty good. New Bern is still pretty good. But really, when I look at it, man, I think this could be their best shot this year. I mean, just based on the fact of, you know, Cardinal Gibbons is very young. And is currently right now, you know, 2-2. Which, of course, Cardinal Gibbons has played a very tough schedule, so don't get me wrong. But I think this is Cleveland's best shot, potentially. For Clayton, I think for them, man, they just have to, you know, they have to bounce back a little bit here. I think they have, you know, struggled a little bit just based on the fact of they don't have a lot of pop offensively. And I think that's what's really been getting them. I mean, if you're looking at their losses, they're losing 20-14. Let's see, they lost to Fuquay 20-14, lost to Wakefield 41-7, lost to Wake Forest 26-0, lost to Grimsley 42-14. So they haven't had a game yet where they've scored more than 2 touchdowns. That's very concerning. I think their defense has been solid. Honestly, I mean, they have a lot of athletes, which normally that's what happens as your defense becomes really good and your offense might struggle if you're not hitting those big plays. But I think just for them, they have to fight back now. I think Fuqua is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in their conference. So for Clayton, I think the big thing for them is just continue moving. I mean, you have Garner. If you have a favorable schedule coming up, got Garner, got Southeast Raleigh, South Garner, Corinth Holders, Willow Springs. So if you can win that Garner game, most likely you feel good walking into those other 5. They just have to get some pop on that offensive end. You're not going to win games in this conference scoring 14 points. You're going to need at least 21 to 28 points on average just to win games. So they're going to have to find a way to get some more offensive output. And when you look at Corinth Holders' situation, they come out with a big win against Franklinton, but they've really struggled here against, Southern Nash beat them 63-35. Then they play Northern Nash next week, and 61-0. And you lose to Cleveland 44-0. So that's 3 really huge losses. Can really affect your confidence. But you have a first-year varsity program coming in this week against Willow Springs. I think you got to feel good about your chances of beating them. And a win over them kind of puts you, would put you somewhere in that 2, probably that 3 to 6 range now in the conference. And, after that, you got South Garner. They're good, but I think they're beatable as well. Fuqua, I think the same way. Clayton, you could beat them as they've had a problem scoring as well. So you look at it, Corinth at least has been able to put up 39 and 35 in games. The question is, would they be able to do it against Clayton? Who knows? Of course, we won't know until they actually play Southeast Raleigh and then Garner. So really, that Cleveland game is your toughest test. Now you have to, I think you throw that one out and you kind of look at it, all right, we've gone through our gauntlet of our season. Now we have a lot of winnable games coming up. All right, so how are we going to respond? Are we going to fall apart and continue to lose, or can we get it together here? I think Willow Springs, you need a blowout win, probably somewhere in that 35-0 range. It needs to be something to really build your confidence and give you confidence going into that next week against South Garner, who they play Cleveland, which I think they'll be 3-2 coming into that game. If you win that game, you would put yourself probably somewhere between 2nd and 4th place. And for you just really, in this conference, you really just want to be somewhere in that at 1 to 3 spots, because that's probably going to be who gets the playoff berths, just based off of past history. Now, of course, last year was a really strong year, and they got, I believe, 5 or 6 teams in, but I don't know if the conference is that strong this year. Now moving on to the QCC Conference, of course, which is the one that has the most amount of WJG teams. So let's look at it right now. Currently, Triple S is the leading team, 4-0. Big win over South Johnston, who I thought was probably the 2nd best team in the conference. Maybe the 1st best actually coming into this year. But they've stumbled a couple times at 2-2 now. But 21-7, big win for them. 2nd straight time they've beaten South Johnston since they've in these matchups. I think if you asked 3 or 4 years ago, could Triple S get a streak on South Johnston, I don't think many people would have agreed yes. So I think for them, this is huge. I mean, this is exactly what you're looking for. Right now you're sitting atop the conference. You and ACOT kind of tied for that first. That is, of course, going to be a huge game coming up in 5 weeks. 5 weeks, which of course a lot of things can change in that time. People lose games, things of that nature. But I'm looking at it just from standings, man. You beat them. You have a game against Hunt, which honestly, a lot of people are looking at it as that, oh, it's going to be a big game. I really don't think so. I think Triple S will win probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Just looking at it from what I saw from Hunt, they have a big defensive line and some nice DBs, but I'm really their quarterback as well as their linebackers really don't inspire any fear in me for a Triple S team. I think if Acock doesn't turn the ball over, I think they had 7 turnovers that game. If Acock doesn't turn it over, if they turn it over 3 times, they probably win that game, probably 28-7. I mean, just realistically, they got to the red zone 5 times, and only were able to score once on touchdown and then once in a field goal, which of course was the winning total, 3 points. I think if they play a much cleaner football game, they win that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I mean, just being realistic. And I think the players were excited after the win because last year they lost to them 49-0. But realistically, this is a very big down year for Hunt. And I think it was the first time Acock has beaten them since 2009. Just realistically, I don't think that Triple S will have a problem as long as they don't turn the ball over 7 times. If they turn it over 3 times, I think they still win by a touchdown or 2. Just realistically here. So Triple S, I think they're in a good spot. They have, they're ranked number 70 in the entire state. Who would have ever thought Triple S would be ranked number 70 in the entire state? Not trying to down them, but just looking at what they've come from to who they've become, it's been quite amazing. I mean, they're 15th in 3A throughout the state, 17th in Raleigh rankings on Max Preps. Fantastic. I think it's just been absolutely fantastic year for them so far. I think they just got to keep it rolling. That South Johnston win is huge. Now getting on to Hunt. And then, of course, you have Acock probably in 4 weeks coming up after that, which I'm sure they're going to tell you they're not looking ahead to any games. But that would be the game that would probably be is the last one before the last week of the season. That's for a piece of the conference championship. I mean, if both teams get to their undefeated, of course. But that's a piece of the conference championship. I mean, I have to go back and look in the record books, but when has Triple S ever won a conference championship in football? Just realistically, you have to look at it and say that would be a absolutely huge accomplishment. Now, when you look at it from Acock's standpoint, I think for them, they have a very favorable schedule coming up. I think theirs is a little bit more favorable after you get past Hunt there. To me, you got East Wake. South Johnston. South Johnston was a team that Acock had on the ropes last year, and maybe not be as good as I thought they were potentially. And you have Fike, West Johnston, Triple S. I mean, that's a good 4-game schedule, and then you end the year with Southern Wayne. So the thing for Acock to keep in mind, of course, you have to win these games, but East Wake, they were up on them, lost to them last year. This would be another opportunity to right that wrong. Same thing with South Johnston. Same thing with Fike. West Johnston, they actually surprised West Johnston last year and beat them and really ruined West Johnston's chance of getting a better playoff seeding. So you look at it, you have a lot of chances to right your wrongs from last year. Coming up, you got 4 games I think that are very winnable, and then you have a Triple S game. And then the good thing is you finish out with Southern Wayne. Triple S finishes out with East Wake. East Wake, beat Southern Wayne by 13 points on Friday. So you have the easier matchup to end the year. So if you do win, you have a better chance of being able to be the conference champion off top. So I think for them, man, it's just about keep rolling. They got to clean up those turnovers. Turnovers were just terrible. You cannot have 7 turnovers in a game and expect to win. And I think they were really lucky that Hunt had, I think, 5 turnovers as well. For them, man, they have a lot. They have a little bit of cleanup from last week, but I think you look at it, you got to win some games ugly. Before they had really just won 44-6, 44-0, and then 32-26 against Rosewood, but you need games like that. So I think it was good for them to go ahead and get that out the way early on in the conference year. And I think now there's plenty for them to build on now. Now, if I'm looking at it from South Johnston's point of view, you just took a big loss to Triple S, but I think that's the toughest team that you're going to play, other than ACOC coming up. So, if you're looking at it, you're at 2-2. You got Fight coming up next, then ACOC, Southern Wayne, Hunt, East Wake, West Johnston. So you've gotten your toughest game out the way. You have a good chance for a bounce back game against Fight, which that's not going to be an easy win, but you have a good chance for a bounce back. ACOC, that's going to be a tough one. Southern Wayne, of course, even with how much improved Southern Wayne is, I still think that'll be a solid win for them. Look at Hunt, that'll be a tough game for them, I think, still. East Wake, then West Johnston. So for them, I think it's just about bouncing back. Can you go 8-2? Can you go 7-5? I'm at 7-3, 6-4, 5-5. Where are you at? I think for them, it's just putting that Triple S game behind them, looking at what they messed up, and trying to clean up some errors as you go. Then you look at it for West. West is actually one of the teams who went 1-0 in the comp. You look at it, they were another team who lost their first game in conference. 2-2, 0-1, lost a big one to Fike. I don't know, man. Fike is one of the bottom tier teams. I don't know if you're going to be able to compete in the conference if you can't beat Fike. This week they got Southern Wayne coming to them. I'll probably be at that game, or I'll probably have somebody there at least. But that, to me, for West Johnston, if you want a chance of making the playoffs, that's a must-win game. You can't lose that game, because if you lose that one, you likely are going to lose to East Wake, Smithfield, Selma, ACOC, probably Hunt, probably South Johnston. To me, you have to win this game coming up. It's a must-win, just from a confidence standpoint as well as from a playoff standpoint. There's no excuses in that for me, and just in my personal opinion. They have to win this game, Elijah Brooks has had a great senior year so far. I think they just need a little bit more from him. They've, in their 2 losses, now they're on a losing streak. You scored 10 and 14 points respectively. You gotta put some points on the board, especially in this conference. This conference has a lot of teams who can score very quickly. So I think for them, if you lose this game, I probably would say that you don't have a chance at making the playoffs, just realistically. Now you move to the Southern Wayne side. They're 2-2, 0-1 in conference. First winning streak since 2011 after beating Goldsboro and North Lenore in back-to-back weeks. So that's awesome for them. But I get a little bit of humility there with that 6-23 loss to East Wake. You look at it, they haven't scored a lot of points. 20, 29, 6. Got to score some points in this conference. Like I've already said, you got to score points. East Wake is probably your easiest opponent that you have in this conference. West Johnston is probably your second easiest coming up in this conference. They got to win. They're also in this, if you want to make the playoffs and you want to have this special year, first time making the playoffs, I think since 2016, I want to say. If you want to have that type of year, you got to beat West Johnston. You got to. Got to beat West Johnston. And then from there, you have to find a way to win 1, probably 2 of your Hunt, South Johnston, Smithfield, Selma, Fike, ACOC schedule. You can go 3-2 and then 1-4 in that next one. You might can still make the playoffs, or 2-3 in that next one. 5-5 probably makes the playoffs for sure. But I think really you want at least 4 to even have a consideration of getting into the playoffs. But I will say the Southern Wayne team does look much improved. A lot of good athletes around the field. Did a very good job against Goldsboro. Was able to beat Northland Normal the first time they had a winning streak in 11 years. So that's big time. And then you look at it, even though you lose to East Wake, still 23-6, you didn't get running clocked. I think that's big time, big steps for that program. No matter what, it's always important to look at where you were to who you are right now. Now, you're dealing with a little bit of a cold here. Don't worry about me. We got, let's look at the new six, Princeton. This conference is almost completely made up of WJG teams. They're not actually in conference play yet, so they're probably one of the more interesting conferences because there is only 6, so you only need 5 weeks. Princeton right now, after that loss to Smithfield-Selma, has bounced back tremendously. 58-57 win, an exciting shootout versus East Duplin. Then you win against Rosewood, win another one against Richlands last week, which I heard was a pretty ugly game. But one thing about it, Princeton has bounced back and put some points on the board, 58, 45, 43 after that 21-point showing against Triple S. Really good stuff from them that you're seeing. They are looking like probably the best team in their conference once again. And I think really just for them, the thing that they have to clean up is that defense. I mean, their defense right now, 35. They have up 35 first game, 57, 32, 23, which is, of course, some of that is turnover issues as well, but got to clean it up on the defensive end. That's way too many points for you to win once you get into the playoffs. I think right now, you look at it, Lewisburg, that's their last non-conference opponent. I think they have a very good shot to beat them, who is currently 2-0. But I mean, just for me, man, you have to show improve a little bit more. There has to be, because I think you can get through your conference with a bad defense just based off the fact that I think talent-wise they're better than at least 4, maybe 5 of the other teams. But you have to clean up that defense if you want to go far in the playoffs. And I know that's what they're thinking as well. I don't have to. It's not rocket science here. No football coach ever wants to give up 35 points, over 35 points a game. No football coach ever wants to do anything like that. And that's kind of where they're at right now. But I think they've done a good job of done a good job of bouncing back. I mean, their offense is still their offense. I mean, averaging now close to 40 points a game. That's going to help your defensive woes a little bit, right? But you don't want to be in shootouts, especially with the type of offense they run and how much, if you get down in the playoffs by a touchdown or 2, it could really be the end of your season. So I think for them, clean up that defense and keep it rolling, really. I think they're in a good spot right now to win their conference. They got a big one coming up, not this week, but next week against Eastern Wayne. Of course, I'm probably definitely going to have to be at that one just because that's probably going to be realistically the real conference championship game. And I hate that it's played first, but hey, it happens. Scheduling, you don't always know. But now let's actually talk about the Eastern Wayne Warriors. They are currently sitting at 2-3. Had a very tough 3 weeks last 3 weeks with Green Central losing 36-0. They lost to James Keenan 46-26. Lost to Aycock 44-8. Were only able to beat Southern Wayne 28-20, but did get a 21-6 win against Washington to bounce back. Washington is having a bit of a down year themselves, and they're now 2-2 as well. So I think for Eastern Wayne, I mean, I didn't see this coming because I thought that they would probably beat Aycock. I thought they would beat James Keenan, and I thought that they would have a much better showing against Green Central. But I mean, when you're starting a freshman quarterback and your senior quarterback is not available to you, it's going to be, everything is going to be a lot different, you know. And I think, you know, Isaiah, he has done a great job of maturing quicker every single game. I just think, you know, it's tough going from middle school to high school. And you look at it, he really only had 1 year of middle school. I mean, you look at it, 7th grade year was a COVID year for him. So, you know, any freshman who's coming in pretty much missed an entire year of middle school. And most likely you probably didn't play very much middle school football at the in your 6th grade year. So you're coming into this year, you're probably 2 years behind where some other freshman classes have came in. And you know, and I think he is working through it, and I think he's done a great job of growing and maturing. And it just takes time. And, you know, this week they got a bye week. This week they can get a chance to take a look at, you know, some of the mistakes that have been made, and I think you still feel good about where you're at. I mean, just you're 2-3. I mean, you still have a chance if you can beat Princeton, if you could just put together a perfect game plan defensively to keep you in a game against Princeton, and maybe your offense scores just enough to win, you realistically still have a shot at the conference championship and being 7-3, which is still a great place to be at. So I think they've had their lumps, but I think that you sit back, you look at that Washington win, even though Washington isn't as good as they have been in the past, I think you still have to just look at it and just be like, we're all right. I think that's what you have to look at right now. We are all right. Now, of course, let's see. You go to another place in that conference. You look at North Johnston, who had a bye week this week. After winning that big game against Farmville Central, 38-6, they've gone 0-3. Lost 35-6 to Nash Central, 49-0 to Smithville Selma, and 14-6 to Rosewood. So, don't know where the offense went. That scored 38 points. You know, that's one of those ones that's probably an opponent. But I mean, hey, there's encouragement there. You know, Nash Central actually just beat Southern Nash, which who saw that coming? Now, Smithville Selma, of course, 4-0. I've talked in large part about them. Rosewood, even though their record is what it is, I think that they are one of the better teams in 1A still. And just you're not seeing the wins because they're they're playing some very tough opponents. But I mean, for me, I'm looking at it. They got North Pitt this week. That's a winnable game. If you win that game, you're 2-3. You got Spring Creek, Bedingfield, Goldsboro. That's another 3 games that you could win. That's 4 games straight that you could win. If you win those 4, you are probably going to the playoffs. So for me, I'm looking at it. They need to go 3-1 at least this over these next 4 weeks. That is kind of their goal. At least 3-1. Maybe you lose this North Pitt one, but you got to get those next 3. Goldsboro lost Braxton Morton, which was the heart and soul of their entire team. Bedingfield has not been very good. Spring Creek has shown improvements, you know, but they are still a very much winnable game for North. I think they just have to, this is the week they have to kind of just put it all behind them, and they got to go win some football games. They've had a bye week. This is time. You got to go win these next 3 to 4 if you want to make the playoffs, which I think is very possible. So for them, this is their gut check week. Put some points up on that board this week. Green Central just beat this team 40-0. Go get you a W. Go eat you a W, as Coach Holly always does in those ACOG videos. Go eat you a W. You know what I'm saying? So now you look at it, moving on to Spring Creek, who got a big 52-50 win over Union. They're now 2-3. Hey, And they have a bye week this week. But now you got to look at it. They got North Johnston. Then you got East Wayne, Princeton. Those are probably 2 losses, but still. Then you got Goldsboro, Bedingfield. You have 3 winnable games coming up in the throughout the rest of the season. You got to go get them. Spring Creek will be the first time that they've made the playoffs since they've entered the 2A classification. For me, I'm looking at it like, man, you have to go and try to compete with these teams. I mean, even though you have lost some really bad ones, man, you have to. This is gut check time. You're now going to be in conference play, and I think you have an opportunity to at least be right there going into the conference. I think you have a chance to be somewhere in between 3rd and 6th, and you want to be 3rd so that way you can make the playoffs. Now, a team who is on the stream downswing is Goldsboro. You know, they've scored 12 points this season so far in 5 games. Have been blanked in 3 straight, lost to Southern Wayne, beat Douglasburg 6-4. Of course, taking some major L's to some powerhouses in Whiteville 56-0, Rocky Mount 62-0, and then Clinton 48-6. For them, it's not going to get any easier going into conference play. They got a bye week this week, but just realistically looking at it, man, they lack offensive punch. They, especially now losing Braxton Morton, I really don't know where they're going to score from. I mean, this could be a 1-10 football team or a 1-9 football team, and I hate to say that because I know it's early on, but you know, this game against Bedingfield will pretty much be a big definer. If you can at least compete against this game, then maybe you can still win against North Johnston and Spring Creek and get to 3-7. Just realistically, though, if you want to be in a position to make the playoffs, you're gonna have to win Bedingfield and North Johnston, Spring Creek, and you're probably gonna need. I mean, if you win those 3, you're probably still in the playoffs, just based off the fact that your strength of schedule is very strong. It's going to be very hard. They don't have a lot of offensive playmakers. Their defense, I think, is very solid. But I think they just are lacking offensive punch. If they can figure out a way to score some points, I think that they can possibly get those 3 games that I talked about. But if not, it's going to be a very long rest of the fall for Goldsboro. And I think a lot of those Cougar fans are going to start waiting for the basketball team to come on the floor if it continues to go the way that it's going. Let's turn the ties to Green Central. This is the last undefeated team that we haven't really talked about yet, but 5-0 so far in the season. They've played every single week so far, playing again. They don't have a bye week coming up until the end of the season. They don't play the last week of the season, but man, they've been rolling. I mean, you beat North Pitt 48-6, Eastern Wayne 36-0, beat Bedingfield 44-6, beat Kinston 32-20, North and North 50-0. I mean, just realistic. You look at those scores, man. They've really only allowed, you're looking at 32 points. That's big time, man. That's playing 5 programs who've been good over the last few years, even though they might not necessarily be great right now. But got Southwest Edgecombe coming up this week, and I mean, Southwest Edgecombe has had, they're 1-4. This isn't the greatest. I think this is another win. You look at it, then they have Aiden Grifton, 0-5. Then you have Washington 2-2, just lost to Eastern Wayne, who Eastern Wayne actually beat. Green Central actually beat Eastern Wayne 36-0. Then you have West Craven, who is always sneaky. I never trusted West Craven as bad. Never trusted, because they, for some reason, is they always find a way to be right there at the end. So I wouldn't sleep on that game. It will be a big game for them, but it's at home. I mean, they're 2-3 though, and I mean, I know a couple of those losses are to some tough teams. But still, and then you close it out with 2-3 Farmville Central, and Farmville lost to North Johnston as well. So I'm looking at it for Green Central. You know, I think I picked them to start the year 8-2, 9-1, somewhere in that range, 7-3 maybe. I can't see 10-0 not being 10-0, 9-1, somewhere in that range. To me, that's where I'm looking at now. 10-0, 9-1. I mean, Wilkes Thomas being added to that team later on in the offseason is big time for them. And, you know, you look at John Willis, Justice Debro, Jamari Coppage on that offensive end have been absolutely dynamite. Then you have Kamari Hall and Isaiah Campbell, just some really tough Tyler Williams. I think they call him Smiley. They had some really good players this year. And I got to say, they have done everything that I kind of thought they were and more. So they've exceeded my expectations of the type of team that I thought they were going to be. And I think just for them, they got to keep going now. This realistically, you know, you look at your rankings, you're number 100 in the state, number 14 in 2A, actually behind Princeton, who's 13. And you look at in your area in Greenville, Spartanburg, you're number 9. I mean, this could be a team that could make 3rd, 4th round. It could possibly be the best team in Green Central history so far. I mean, they've shattered a lot of big moments that the school has had. I mean, I would think they were the 4th team to ever start 3-0 or 4-0. I mean, just sky's the limit. Coach Wilson's really got those boys believing and buying into what he's preaching. And I'm riding with the Rams here. I mean, to me, if I'm looking at it, man, they have all the talent in the world, and they have the potential to go to the state championship. I really do believe that. So now let's look at the last public school conference real quick. Rosewood, they are currently 1-4. They do not start conference play, not this week, but next week. They have Southside coming up. I mean, they lost to Northside, Pinetown, which is same county, Beaufort County there. I mean, you look at these losses, they're not inexcusable losses. They're realistically, you probably should have lost that game. You lose one of ACOC, who's been one of the best 3A teams. You lose that one in a last-second touchdown. You beat North Johnston 14-6, so that's holding on there. You lose a shootout to Princeton 45-32. Whiteville, one of the best 2A teams in the state, gives you 41 points, and you only score 7. And then last week you lose to Northside Pinetown 34-24. I'm fine with that. I mean, to me, if you watch my preview, I said that Rosewood had a chance to possibly start 1-5, 1-6. I mean, 1-5, 2-4. And if you beat Southside, you'll be at 2-4, which I think for them is fine. I mean, you look at it, they're preparing for the postseason. I mean, I think in their conference, you look at it, Hopton, they got them coming up. Of course, that'll be their first game. Hopton's 3-1, but who has Hopton played? I mean, just realistically, look at the teams that they've played. I mean, Union, they lost to Spring Creek. And then you have North Duplin, who is 3-2. They might be a little bit tougher. And you have Lakewood, who is currently – so, I mean, I'm just looking around here, and, yeah, it doesn't look good right now because you probably wish to be a little bit higher. You probably wish that you could have won one of those tough games. But, man, to me, it's you shoot yourself in the foot panicking about stuff like this. I mean, realistically, if you look at the Max Preps rankings, they're higher than everybody else in their conference. Rosewood fans, don't worry. It's 1-4, but they're going to be just fine. Now, to finish it off here, we're going to talk a little bit about Wayne Christian here. 2-1. Last game they played was the 9th, lost to JP2. We're off this week. They lost to JP2 74-32, which, of course, is a conference game. Not a good game to drop, but, hey, they did lose it. So, hey. Got Columbia coming up this week. They're a public school team who's actually playing 8-man, so good chance to get back on the win board. To be 3-1. Then you have Rocky Mount Academy, APA, Faith Christian, Cary Christian, which very tough gauntlet. Not sure how they're going to come out of that one. I mean, you're looking at it, Rocky Mount Academy, they're 3-1. Arundel Parrott, they're 4-1. I mean, these are all conference games. You got Faith Christian, they're 4-0. Cary Christian, 2-1. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's going to be a tough road. They probably had the easy part of their schedule is over right now. Now it's like you're in the gauntlet now. This is big 8-man football, and we will see if they actually get a chance to, catch a win or two. It's going to be interesting. I mean, with 8-man football, you just never know. I mean, sometimes you play a better game on a better day. I mean, I've had multiple 8-man teams, 8-man games where I was covering Parrott, where I thought the game should go this way and it went the other way. I mean, so 8-man is just, you never know. I mean, it's less people, big field, same size field, crazy things happen. So we'll see. And of course, we'll be checking in on the Eagles every week and just seeing how they're performing. Got to get to one of their games pretty soon, but they've got a gauntlet coming up, so good luck to them. So now, let's get to what I'm sure everybody is waiting for. Rankings. Now, who's our number one team? Cleveland. Still Cleveland. It's going to be Cleveland. I mean, it's hard because I'm sure people might say I have a bias to Cleveland, but man, they're just really good. Their program is really solid. They, a lot of times, even if they may play a more talented team, sometimes they win because they're just more organized and better coached. To me, I can't go against them until I see them lose. When they lose, I probably might have to drop them out of the top. I might have to drop them out of the top spot. Other than that, they're going to stay there until they lose, probably. Smithfield Selma comes in at number 2, of course. They've had some big weeks, big wins over other WJG teams. To me, I don't see how you don't put them number 2. I mean, they have a lot of really good players. Number 3, Green Central. Yes, I'm saying Green Central. Yes, they're a 2A team. Yes, they've had They've played some pretty bad teams, but man, they have really just seen them in person. They are so fast. They're physical, and they have really good quarterback play. This is a team. Once again, I'm saying that you might could look at them and say maybe they have the best chance of making the state championship out of everybody, just based off the fact that 2A is probably the most winnable division that I'm looking at, besides maybe 3A. So, Grand Central number 3. Now, ACOC number 4. So, ACOC, the players been saying they should be in the top 5 for the last few weeks. Every time I see them, they're there, number 4 right now. That's where I'm putting them. I know they probably would say they should be number 1, but hey, I think right now number 4 is a good spot for them. Let's see how they respond as they go on through conference season. And number 5, making their return back into the top 5 is Princeton. Princeton is back into the top 5. They took a little hiatus there after that loss to Triple S, but I think they've proved that they're easily the 5th best team by far. And I think in coming weeks, you could say that they might be one of the better 3 or 4 teams. I mean, one of the better 2 or 3 teams. So Princeton back into the top 5 officially. Now, before we end the show, I want to appreciate you guys for all the support that you've been giving me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Continue to like it up on Facebook. Continue to watch the videos on YouTube. Continue to share and support on IG. Continue to follow the Twitter. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Once again, I'm trying to go for 2,300 subscribers by the end of the month. It's going to be very tough with only 12 days left. But if you guys could, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, follow on Twitter, follow on IG, like us on Facebook. I really appreciate you for taking the time to watch, and just be on the lookout. Keep on supporting WJG Sports. I really appreciate everyone who has shown a lot of love and support over the past few weeks. And we hopefully continue to put out some quality stuff for you guys. Thank y'all for watching. See you guys again soon.